Is love alive? We wonder sometimes, don't we? Then does love need love to awaken itself right here and now? Does love need love? Let's explore that a little bit. Think about this. If we believe that this idea that is called God is love, we know that that love is in, through, and around us at all times. That love never stops being because nothing can stop love. Because love is the greatest thing in the world. But here's the key. As individualizations of that, are we awake to it? Are we aware of it? Have we plugged into that energy? If we haven't plugged into that energy, love is right where we are, but we don't even realize it. We don't even know it. So the whole idea of Christmas, it's about rebirthing. It's about coming alive. It's about seeing that there's this thing we call the Christ. And Jesus was the greatest example that we know that came into the planet. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to say, so what is Christmas? Christmas, if you break down the word, it is a celebration. That's what Mas means. It's celebration. Christ means the anointed one or the change, the thing. So what we're celebrating today is this idea that there is a Christ within us that is desiring to speak and see and do as us in our own unique way. The thing that we forget, and this was so beautifully said, we cannot conform to human patterns of thought and human ideas. We cannot. We must know that within us, we can rebirth ourselves by focusing on truth. And focusing on truth is realizing that there is only one, and it is love. There's only one. So I'm asked, I was on a radio program this last week, and I was asked the question, what is Christmas? And I said, I can't define it. I can tell you that I feel it. And here's what I understand about Christmas. I'm going to take you into a little background of Lee. I remember being 7 years old. And I remember at 7 years old, I was a part of Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Dearborn, Michigan. And I was in the choir. And the choir was going to sing at midnight mass. And so I was there, and I had my little blue pants on, my black shoes. I had my white little shirt on with my white tie. And I was just, as my mother said, Lee, you're so cute tonight. But I remember all of us, and it was an older church, so it was one of the big Gothic-type churches. And I remember that there was a stairway on either side that was circular like this, and it was real dark. And I can remember as a little person, going up those stairs like this, that was really, and you're there. And then something started to happen, and there was a feeling that came over me. And I remember getting to the very top, and we were lined up, and I remember our nun, Sister Marie Constance. Sister Marie Constance was the choir person. And we got to sing Angels We Have Heard on High. And the only thing I remember was the feeling that came over me. At 7 years old, I couldn't explain it to my mom and dad. I said, I felt different. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was special. And then I remember at age 14, I can remember being in a midnight mass. And I remember Father Robert Scanlon. And Father Scanlon was up on the podium, and he was one of these, he didn't stand behind and lecture like this. He leaned into that podium, and he got right there, and he talked to you. And I remember as he was talking to me, I understood that my role was to be a priest. I got it. At 14, I was there. And then 15, I went away to the seminary. And when I was at the seminary, I lived away from home for a year. And I remember finding God there as well. Because we were in the middle of Detroit, in the worst area of Detroit, West Chicago and Linwood Avenue. It is like the worst area. I think it's probably destroyed by now, nuked. But there was a path, a cobblestone walkway that went about a mile all the way around that campus. And I can remember walking, because at 15, being away from home, that was a big deal. But I remember walking by myself every day, and a feeling would rush over me. And I said, that was the feeling. Now, as my journey progressed, I asked too many questions. I'm constantly asking questions. What is my highest expression? I realized, for me, if I'm an individualization of God, and I'm in kindness and I'm in love, there are no rules that I have to follow. Love doesn't know rules. Love just loves. And so I went away from my path, and I lost that feeling. I completely lost the feeling of what it meant, except for various moments. Moments like when I got married. Moments when I held my 2 sons for the very first time. And then I remember being with my mother the time she told me she had breast cancer. And I remember a feeling coming over me of such emotion. And I don't know what happened, but for me, I just put my energy, I expanded my energy, and I wrapped us in it. And in the wrapping of the energy, I had the feeling. And you see, this is what I've come to understand. We can create this energy of love anytime we want. All we have to do is visualize ourselves being surrounded by this infinite light that we call God. God and love and light, they're all the same thing. We just surround ourselves with it. And then if we're with someone, we can easily fill that void and surround ourselves with that. So if you notice, I'm not up in front during the service like most ministers when things are going on. I'm not sitting here and I'm not clapping and doing all this. I'm in back and I'm visualizing a temple of love, an energetic of love just surrounding everyone here, creating a safe place so that when you come, you can feel like you were born to feel. You see, we were born to be children. We were born not to grow up. Jesus said you can only enter the kingdom if you are a child. I want to go into the teachings a little bit of Jesus because Jesus was just magnificent. He basically said, it is not I that do the work, it is the Father within. And so he was talking about that there's an inner power and presence that was in him that allowed him to, through his connection with the Father, to do the work. But then what did Jesus say after that? He said, this I do and you can do and more. So he was saying, I am not the only one, but I am the one that is showing the way, and you have the power within you. And how did he teach that? He said, it is done unto you as you believe. So he basically gave us the keys to everything right there, is that as we shift our beliefs, as we create a mental atmosphere of believing in something, there is a law that is the God law, and that God law creates unto us. And you see, this is about what Christmas is. It's about awakening to the idea that there's a power and a presence in us, and in any moment we can choose to grasp that power and speak that power into the world. You don't ever have to ask God for anything because God has given you the power through your word, through your knowledge, and it's not you doing the work, but it is the Father within you doing the work. I'm doing some preaching today, aren't I? I just feel it flowing, and it's going to continue. Because it's so critical that we understand, because let me just say this. When we are in a state of love, there cannot be fear. You cannot experience love and have fear show up in that experience. And if you're sitting here and you're experiencing fear, there's no way love can come up. So the only way that you can be one with God, the only way that you can be in love is to get rid of fear and focus on that. And right now in the world, I'm going to say this really clearly, there's a lot of fear being passed around. But you know what? It's no different today than it's been every other day in the time of humanity. There is no difference. There has been as much fear today as there were 4,000 years ago. It's just that it's amplified through our communications, through the internet and that type of thing. So it's up to us now. Are we willing to buy into the fear, or are we willing to be the light? It's real interesting. When I was on that radio show the other day, the first 10 minutes I wasn't talking, and they were talking about, well, we've got ISIS coming here, we all better get our concealed handgun permits, and we better be protecting ourselves, and we better be aware for terrorism and all that type of thing. Well, what I know about the law that attracts, if you focus on fear, fear comes back. I'm going to tell you this, I live in a place in my life where we will never have to worry about that. It will never, ever touch us. Because we're putting out an atmosphere of love. And The only way fear can exist is if we judge. You see, if we're judging, we're comparing ourselves against someone. Here's the key. If you're judging, you can't be in love. I'm just going to make that as clear as I can possibly say. Follow this logic. See if this resonates in your heart. God is all there is. God created everything out of itself. Out of itself, so everything is an individualization of God. So God has chosen to make itself unique in each and every person on this planet. And God has given each and every person on this planet the power to create their life through the power of their thoughts. Most people, 98% of the people, are creating their lives unconsciously. The two people that are using consciousness are using it some of the time. People say, Reverend Lee, you're a conscious man. I said, once in a while. But I'm not always conscious. I'm human, and I go in and out of consciousness. I admit that, and I'm going to tell you that. But the more we do our practice of meditation, the more we do our practice of affirmations, the more we do our practice of gratitude, the more we forgive and let go, the more we become one with it. So I was having a hiccup about abundance. I want to share this because this was a huge insight for me. And I didn't know why I had this hiccup about abundance until I got a letter yesterday from the IRS. Did your butts pucker? Anytime you see a letter from the IRS, there's a pucker going on. Let me just say that up front. I want you to know for the first time there was no pucker. And I found that interesting because normally I would take it and I would put it inside. I'd come back to it when I felt stronger. But I went inside and I immediately opened it. And the IRS had said, well, we've reviewed your documents that you sent back in September with regard to your April taxes, and we feel that while you were right in some areas, there are some areas you weren't, you owe us $640. I got out my checkbook. I wrote out a check for $640. The second I did that, I had the realization that having that debt or the possibility of debt hanging over my head had choked off the flow. It choked off the flow. And the second I wrote it, abundance just filled me. It's the same thing. So we're talking about the birth of Jesus today. It's your rebirth as well. The question I got to ask is there forgiveness work you've got to do? Is there someone that when you think of them, that they press your button? You've got to let that go. Because if you don't let that go, it's going to hold you down. Anyone you've got anger toward, anyone you've got angst for, this is the time of year where you get to choose. This is a conscious choice right now. You can do this anytime, but at Christmas, wouldn't it be great to go through Christmas having forgiven your mother? Had forgiven your father, your brother, your sister, your boss, whoever it is. Wouldn't it be great? Forgiveness means understanding at the time that they did what they did, that was the best they could possibly do. There was no more that could happen. And in that, you ask the question, to get into forgiveness, to really get into forgiveness, you got to ask the question, how am I better today for what happened to me back then? How can I find 30 reasons why I'm better today? You see, when you do that, you're coming from a Christ consciousness. You're coming from the consciousness that knows that everything is for the further advancement of life. Everything is for a greater expression of love. And so if everything is for a greater expression of love, how do we find love in all of those acts? That's the biggest Christmas gift you can give yourself, is to give yourself the gift of freedom. So it's about transforming your mind. We come back to that every time. You see, let me just say this really clearly. Each of you is a unique and whole and perfect expression of God. There is nothing more that you need. The power that you need to create is within you. You get to choose how, when you use that power. If you say, I have the power, but, if I have the power, except, if that person has the power, but I don't, you're not connected. The second you throw the word but in there or something like that, that's giving you, because is another good word. The second you throw that, you're not stepping into the divine power. Because I'm going to tell you, it is within us. If this is the way it is, and Jesus was really clear. He said, it is done unto you as you believe. And all the great avatars have said the same thing. It is done unto you as you believe. What is a belief? It's a pattern of thought. It's a pattern of thought. It's a pattern of thought. So for Christmas this year, think about what pattern of thought do I want to create in my life? And then as you think it, go within and have that feeling. Just have that feeling fill you. Have that feeling come over you, wrap you, guide you, direct you, embody you, embellish you. Have it massage you. Be at one with it. Because here's the thing. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel love. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be abundant. You deserve to be well. You deserve to be supported. You deserve to be treated kindly. And you deserve to be treating others with kindness. My Christmas wish, or my Christmas knowing for you is this, that from this moment forward, you have become a kinder, authentic person. I promise you, that wish come true, the world will change. Because with the 200 people in this room right here, that amount of kindness can do nothing but transform the planet. Because they say a conscious individual impacts millions of those that are unconscious. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.